it's time to start the session. So maybe I'll start with Pak Gogot, if that's okay. Can you maybe share a little bit about what the last few months has been like for you, specifically, your perspective of how COVID-19, and has really changed learning and education from your perspective, given that you are in EdTech in the Ministry of Education and Culture.
Thank you for joining with us. So, three things I'd like to share. One is actually the demand of faculty members and also a university in taking training in developing and managing distance learning. So it's become encouraging. Basically, almost every day we'll see webinar, Zoominar, video conference. So in almost all universities, I've been invited in Jember, in Semarang, in different cities, to provide some insight about the government plan or guideline in developing distance learning. So basically, the first one is the training. The second one is the content, application, and software or hardware. Basically, equipment, ICT equipment, content, and application that being needed by university to serve the student. And third, but not least not last, but the innovation. So I have seen several lecturers in university. They blended different kind of technology and apps. Let's say Google with Spada with Zoom with some other things. Different kind of WhatsApp with the Facebook. So if you have a 4 quadrant of synchronous and asynchronous learning, people using 3-4-2, 3-4-2, 2-4-3, different kind of mix application being used. So this is an innovation. What I like to emphasize, basically, to point out is basically creativity will demand support. So this is the support of the government, support from the industry, support from the university researcher to provide, because not all of the lecturer are researcher in education technology. So we need more, basically. I mean, we're still working hard, to find the best, model, for different kind of university and different kind of student and different kind of faculties, different kind of major and things like that. Especially when the program demanding a practicum. So this month, the Ministry of Education, in the process of training, to create a video on practicum lecture, lecture in practicum, like a practicum practical lesson. 1,000 videos being developed by the end of next week. Hopefully, will be available for all universities.
Wow, that's really a fantastic resource. That would be really incredible to see. Fantastic. So maybe now let's switch a little bit the conversation from the perspective, we've heard from you and the perspective from the ministry, but what's the perspective from the universities? I want to know. So maybe we'll start with Prof. Eddie Yusum. That's okay. Can you share with us a little bit, maybe some examples of how COVID-19 has affected your university and its stakeholders? So whether that's from the perspective from your students or faculty or even staff. We'll be very interested to hear, what your experience has been like.
Hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm so happy meet you, and it's okay. Unpas our follow a roadmap which address to our strategic plan to 2007 and to 2020, which contain the development plans of information technology, role in improving our tridharma and service quality. Before COVID-19, these roles are most limited to the academical business processes. Apparently, the pandemic diseases is an effective trigger to integrated IT into the rest of our business model. We begin with only 20% of our teaching and learning processes IT-based. At the start of work from home in March, We transformed almost the rest of them to be done through IT. Now, 95% of our teaching and learning processes is IT-based. Articulation, which can be done remotely with no other choice, must wait until the lockdown is over. Unpas completed this transformation in 3 weeks, thanks to adequate cloud server and capable technician. Since then, we keep refining our system until June. After teaching processes, our next priority is to build an online multi-bank payment system, reform from campus-located bank transfer. Facing the student, admission period, we also switched most of our marketing strategy. 90% of is now done virtually. We encourage our department to hold webinars and online talk show to freshen up their existence amongst the people. Academic hotlines, social media, and website become our way to reach the student candidate. Okay, the backbone of LMS Unpas is Moodle, a POMOS course management system, and UBL, Ubiquitous-based learning, a mobile learning platform built by Unpas and Korean IT provider company, Northstar Development Village. To accomplish higher quality of virtual teaching, we have integrated our LMS with Zoom and Triple B, Big Blue Button, for remote lab courses. We are planning to build a computational platform utilizing Amazon Workspaces. What LMS was integrated with our academic information system. Is okay? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So interesting. I really enjoyed the point you brought up about recruitment. All of the universities now are, either finishing up or kind of recruiting for the new semester. But this coming semester is going to be very different from all previous semesters. So the way that we also need to change is very interesting. Okay, wonderful. Maybe if I can move on to Prof. Suharman. And, I would like to invite you to maybe reflect on the same question. So the question is, how can you share an example of how COVID-19 has affected your university, whether it's your stakeholders, your different stakeholders, whether it's staff, students, or faculty? That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the time. Good afternoon, everybody, and then thank you for inviting us for the Universitas Hasanuddin University, located in Makassar, in the South Sulawesi, the eastern part of Indonesia. Actually, as Pak Gogot mentioned and Prof. Edi, according to the learning, we have some problem actually for that. But for the first, according to the how COVID affected to our university, I would like to mention about how the Universitas Hasanuddin, my university, doing adaptation, for example, to do the best way to handle the COVID as the mark. For the first, we are very engaging that the best way to give a response to the COVID is the innovation, for example. For the first one, for example, in my university, we have some of the progress we do for the directly after the COVID coming to our country and also our province. For example, in South Sulawesi, the first COVID affected in the middle of March, last 3 months ago. Then we do we built a team. We call it task force, university task force for the COVID-19. So this is our university mission. That Universitas Hasanuddin has a branding of Humaniversity, Humanity University, the Humaniversity. So this is the way, one way to encourage our student, our lecturer, our Civitas Academica to take part of the fighting for COVID. So now we are working with that, and then we call it all the for example donation from some young people, and then this is the first response for the COVID in the university. The second one is we call it Communiversity, Community Service University. So we do some of the programs. For example, for the student, they have community service to the community around the campus, and then around the community in the South Sulawesi province, especially. And then we do some of the innovation. For example, we try to the making, for example, call it a magic in Unhas. A magic is one product to support the dentist, because dentist is a very, very risky person relating to the COVID, because they have to working with the mouth and the dental, for example. So then we also doing and build some of the tools to support the doctor, the nurse, and then also paramedic relating to the fighting COVID. And the last one is about the Unhas should be take a big part to fighting COVID from the learning and education. For example, now we running for the community service for the student. In Indonesia, we call it Kuliah Kerja Nyata, KKN, Kuliah Kerja Nyata. And then we doing Kuliah Kerja Nyata community service student to community in the online way. So we support the community services to fighting the COVID by the basic education of our students. For example, from the medis aspect, from the law aspect, and also from the engineering aspect, for example. Also now we are very fasting in the doing online consultation for the community. For example, law consultation, physiological consultation, medical consultation, that the community and the people wants to know about something. For example, because the physical distancing and then social distancing, they have to face problem about the law. So we now opening some of the law office online consultation. And also, actually, we have a biosafety laboratory now working for the to do assessment for the virus COVID-19 in our university. It is, for example, some of our progress, our doing now relating to the COVID affected in our university and stakeholder. I think for the our university doing now until this semester, right? According to the learning online, also Pak Gintoro discussed before. They showed about the pembelajaran jarak jauh. Yes. Also Pak Gogot mentioned before. We also combine with SPADA. Also in my university we call it Sikola. Sikola, this is the local name or the Bugis name of the sekolah, school. This is the traditional name of in Makassar. We call it Sikola. This is the abbreviation of sistem kelola pembelajaran. So we make a simple one, Sikola. This is also the platform for our university to do to support the student and the lecture to doing online learning. Actually, we already have some experience from before the COVID, but now this is the time to moving faster than our expectation before. Okay, Cheryl, I think this is just the brief information about our universities doing in the COVID-19. Thank you.
Clarification, if you don't mind. So you mentioned, and I love the word communiversity, I think is the word that you said,
Yeah.
which was so fantastic. So some of these services, is it your faculty and students who get involved in, some of these law, services
Yes.
and all that? Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
We have two kind of the branding for Universitas Hasanuddin actually. For the first is Communiversity, I said, Community Service University, and then Humanity University. So we combine that. I think this is the moment for us to speed up our branding to the people and to the society.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Okay, if I can go on to Prof. Jusman, is that okay? And again, if I can pose the same question to you, so we have a range of different ideas from different universities. So could you share an example of how COVID-19 might have affected you and your university?
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, welcome.
Unlike my earlier colleagues from Pasundan and Hasanuddin, Prasetya Mulia is a medium-sized university with a student of 4,500 student body. We are focused on business, but back in 2017, we introduced our STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but all directed towards enterprising. So our motto at the university is collaborative learning by enterprising. Our students are challenged all the time to do enterprising from the start to the end of the program. COVID-19 is a hidden enemy. We don't know where it is located because many people are asymptomatic. We don't know who carries the virus. So when news spread that our neighbors are already infected, our top priority is safety for our students. And because of that, we immediately suspend all physical contacts, and we even disallow our students to come to the physical facilities of the universities. We have two, one in City Jakarta and another one in Tangerang, Banten. Even library is not allowed to be entered. Lab also is not allowed to be entered. But luckily, all the learning facilities were already equipped with online facilities so that students can access from distant places. So number one, what we did was to suspend all physical contacts, physical gatherings, physical classes. Number two, of course, is to check how far online learning can really be exercised without much of obstacles. And this has at least three aspects. Number one, of course, is infrastructure. And investment in infrastructure is one action that we are doing and we continue to do until today to be able to really functioning as an online institution. We check the connectivity of our students, and luckily we found out that they are all well connected to the internet. And we also check the mastery of online learning skills among our faculties, and we are doing training in that area as well. So that's number 2, online learning and facilitation of our students, faculties, and our non-faculties workforce. Number 3, working from home. So even until today, we basically still work from home. 100% learning is done 100% online, and work is done almost 100% online, except for facilities that needs to be attended in physical. So we do it with maybe around 15 people to take care of the indispensable facilities. And another important thing is integration of new communication technologies into our learning management system, which is also based on Moodle. So right now we depend a great deal on EduZoom integrated into our Moodle. But there are a number of constraints. In a number of programs, we do need physical interaction and physical presence, particularly when it comes to laboratory work. Certain lab works require physical presence. And we are figuring out now how to do this safely. That applies to particularly energy engineering, it applies to food technology, it applies to product design engineering, but also to hospitality. We run a hospitality program, and lab works in hospitality program cannot be done entirely online. We need physical interactions and physical presence. So we are figuring out how to do this safely. Another major issue that I would like to share with my colleagues from other universities, in which perhaps we can cooperate in different ways, is quality assurance for online learning. I think this is very important. When we do learning offline, when we meet our students, we have a feeling about how far they can follow the processes. But doing this online, we are not sure. So devising a system of quality assurance, of measuring engagement, measuring output and outcome of learning is very important, and we are learning. And I would welcome, I think, close cooperation among Indonesian universities on this, and perhaps Pak Gogot can also facilitate this process. We are not sure how far online learning produce the same outcome and output as offline learning. Thank you, Cyril.
Thank you so much. That was so interesting. I think definitely very, very important food for thought. How do you measure, the outcomes of learning when you are not physically with your students?
Yes.
It's not so easy. Yeah. And what are the right outcomes to measure actually?
Yeah.
That's also another question. So maybe this is a good time for me to move on to Pak Jintoro. Because I particularly want to hear from you, not just about, kind of learning in general, the future of learning in general, but also, of course, the perspective from not the university and higher ed, but what are some of these issues? What does it look like in K-12 part of education?
Thank you for the opportunity, Cyril. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Prof. and Pak Rector. Thank you for the time. So please allow me to share our experience with school rather than universities. Today I'm representing Socrates. Socrates is part of the professional services from Binus University and act as a sub-business unit from the university. Socrates helps schools with providing IT content, curriculum, teachers' professional development, school information system, and IT infrastructure. So we are currently working with about 200 school partners from Medan to Jakarta with around 60,000 students. So to answer your question, Cheryl, back in mid-March 2020, when the virus first arrived in Indonesia, all schools needed to be shut down. We received a lot of requests from our school partners to help them prepare with the school's online learning. Before that, talking about online learning with school is not easy. They have hundreds of reasons not to implement online learning in their school. But the virus changed everything. Ready or not, all schools in Indonesia need to have online learning. Compared to the higher educations, schools are lack the implementation of online learning from early, meaning they are far left behind from the universities and such. The students these days, which is Gen Z, is ready with the digitalization. The problem lies in the teachers. Teaching content infrastructure, with most of the teachers are in Gen X and Gen Y, they need to be prepared with the digitalization and also with the digital pedagogy. Teaching content is also big homework for us. With all materials still in the form of the face-to-face teaching and learning, it makes online learning is just doing worksheet. Infrastructure is the hardest part in Indonesia. Internet bandwidth and device readiness still become an obstacle to deliver the material across the internet. From the school point of view, these online learning procedures also give problem to monitor the students. I agree with Prof. Jisman, actually, how to make sure that we know the quality of the student from this online learning is still a problem because teachers are doing the online learning by themselves. So it's hard for the school to monitor all the progress, monitor all the quality and the achievement of the students. Doing online assessment is a little bit problem also because we never know that the student do by themselves or they just doing with their friends or just looking, cheating, everything. We cannot make sure the student doing by themselves. But again, ready or not, we are already in the condition right now. So we need to solve all the problem at hand. Unfortunately, we need to resolve all of them parallel because in school, we'll be on we call it PJJ, Pendidikan Jarak Jauh, or online learning by next week. This class will be started on 13th of July. So ready or not, we need to be ready. So that's also from the point of view of school. Still a lot of problem that we need to face compared to the university, that universities already have some experience. They already have the system that is there, content that is there, and some of the lecturer, I think, is already used to be using the learning management system. But in the school, student is already using the device, but the teachers, the content, infrastructure is still far away. So that things that we need to work together, especially with the minister. I think Pak Gogot can bring this up with the minister, how to we provide the things. I think from the forum rector last week, Pak Rector, we asked the government to provide the free internet for the students and also for the lecturer. But the same thing happened for the school also. When we see things that happens on the house, like house home-based learning, you said before, Cheryl. So actually, that the problem is come from the parents also. When parents have 3 children, maybe they don't have any 3 devices yet. So they need to share the device. And also when I heard some from the parents, they said that the problem is when the parents, 2 of them are working. The children is at home with their nannies or their grandpa or grandma that never know about the technology things. So that things that still a lot of problem that happen on the K-12. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. That's the point of view from the school.
Yes, and very interesting. Very interesting to see also that some of the different challenges, from different parts of the learning environment. So interesting. Maybe this is a good point to segue to Vincent. And I mean, especially now that you've heard, we've had so many very interesting examples, from different universities in Indonesia, and of course from schools as well, and ranging not just from the online teaching, but also the whole, idea of learning management, even all the way to recruitment and so on. I would love to hear a little bit more from you, and I understand that you bring a little bit more of a perspective. I mean, not just Indonesia, but a little bit beyond into the region as well. I would love to hear, some of your reflections on COVID and how this has changed learning for all of us.
Well, thanks, Cheryl. And number one, thank you to everyone who shared about their universities and schools experience. It's great to learn from you all the teething issues that you are going through and trying to overcome along the way. Definitely, I have seen a lot of the examples coming through us from an AWS perspective, how the trends of, the effect of COVID on the trends that is happening across the world. And I'll touch on a few of them. And some of them have already been brought up by our panel. First is on quality assurance, which has something to do to correlated with the way we do assessments. Traditionally, we've always been doing face-to-face assessment in the classroom or in a large hall with invigilation. But I actually participated in another webinar where we had one university, a very large university, and two education technology solution provider who provides both a manual proctoring assessment solution, as well as an AI proctoring assessment solution. So depending on the situation, right, especially if you're in a tertiary higher education, a manual or an AI proctoring solution is actually very, very effective. And they have done it for medical schools, right? That particular education technology partner of AWS is called ExamSoft. That's an example of how they have driven assessment online. And then in the area of the experience from a higher education, I want to share about Monash University down in Australia. And they have gone on and developed their own assessment system. They practically already, back in 2019, conducted probably more than 350,000 online tests and exams. And mind you, they call it authentic assessment. So it's not just a simple assessment, but actually they were very mindful in how they designed these assessments and the tools that they are using to measure the assessment. And obviously for COVID-19, that number, it's really increasing very, very rapidly with all the students all taking tests at home and exams at home. So they are actually executing on that. So that's one way in which I see how one university have chosen to address the quality, as well as a solution provided by one of the education technology partners that AWS had. So that's the first thing on the quality assessment and assurance. The second is the situation when governments across the world announced lockdown and schools were closed, universities were closed. What to do, right? Many schools and universities and colleges face a major problem of not having the right setup, the right system, the right infrastructure to go online. So what happens if they don't have access to all these resources? On the good side is that in AWS you have the cloud that can readily scale up to support what you need to do without committing to buying very expensive capital expenditure and equipment. And you can get access to those services in a very, very rapid way. In fact, in matter of minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you can get an entire learning management especially like Moodle, set up very, very easily and serving your students already. And so how then do some of our education technology partners help schools get online? I just want to highlight two examples. The first is we have a partner in India called Impartus. They create video online services, and they also create classroom environments. Just within the 4 to 6 weeks of the COVID pandemic hitting India, they were very able, because of the scalability of AWS that they run on, they were very quickly able to support more than 10,000 classrooms, new additional classrooms for students to get on board. And that translates to hundreds of thousands of students and tens of thousands of teachers getting on board. And I kid you not, can share more information with everybody. Up to 60-70% of these schools and teachers have done, or rather are doing teaching for the first time online. It goes to show how easy it is, the technology that they have designed and developed to help teachers get online. And so that is also hopefully to address one of the challenges that Gintaro would point out, is like the readiness and the preparedness of teachers to really get into online. And now they are really moving in that particular way. So that's the second area of classrooms, getting schools on board and quickly. I think the third area is things that are done at a much higher level, whether is it a national level or maybe a regional level. I want to share one particular example. AWS work with the government in Jordan. They are also desperate to deploy a learning management system. Right. The question is how fast can it get the whole system set up and operating, and then offering it to all the students that are in their primary and secondary school level. Again, by working with one of the local partners over there, we were able to stand up this service, right? And since launch in less than 1 month, just less than 1 month, 35 million classes have been viewed by the students in Jordan. And you're talking about 2 million students, right? 2 million students, 35 million classes of sets of content that has already been viewed by them. And then they are now intending to add an additional service to this solution by incorporating assessment, right? And so those are some of the things that has been done at a national level, at a classroom or institutional level, and then at an assessment level. I hope, by sharing these 3 different points, it gives everybody a sense of technology actually can solve some of the challenges that you have talked about. We just want to make sure that we don't try to solve all the problem, but we're very focused in solving certain problems and solve it very well. And I think that's one of the benefits that we can have when we use technology appropriately. Back to you, Cheryl.
But I would be really curious to hear from all our other panelists, if there was one problem that you hope technology could solve for you, your next problem, the next big thing that you want technology to solve for you. I'd be very curious to hear what that might be. And invite anyone, who to respond as you feel called to do.
Yeah. Okay, I will respond to Mr. Vincent. Yeah, the implementation of the COVID-19 protocol for higher education forced us to change. Transforming business processes to be accessed online requires a rapid increase in server capacity. Amazon Web Service, AWS, help to upgrade this capacity easily and quickly IT service at UNPAS during work from home require up to 63 CPO cores. I think spending on servers alone goes up to 200%. April, May are the peak of lecturer activities. In June, the server is only used in the first 2 weeks. I appreciate that Amazon Web Service accommodates operational costs in accordance with user traffic. Thank you.
I'd like to respond. Actually, just a few months ago, our minister just released, like, we try to develop super apps, super apps. So basically, this apps is provided for student. So recording the learning path for student until they are going through the university, and then from the university going through the job market. So basically, this 4 kind of super apps will be developed soon, actually. But the thing is, I know it's not gonna be easy, and it's because there are hundreds already apps that being developed at the university level, also at school, at the government level, province level, district level. I mean, even in our system already, the Ministry of Education, now we have 119 apps being developed. So for all kind of use, administration, learning, and cyber, and all of this kind of. That's why we're going to wrap them up in the super apps. So basically, like our minister is also developer of the apps. So then that's the way how we can to think about it. But what I like to get also some advice and opinion from Vincent. Basically, just also mentioned in Indonesia, geographically speaking, it's not easy. I've been to Singapore. I visited like School of the Future Singapore, being developed by Vincent long time ago in the ministry. But in Indonesia, it's not happen like this. Especially just rector mentioned, we have a small university, we have a middle, we have higher. I mean, like a big university, less than 1,000, between 1,000 to 5,000, above 5,000. So all the university we have 4,000 more, like 4,300 something. But yes, we can provide. I mean, like 94% student university lecturers, they said they serve. Online learning. But the thing is, when we ask the student, how satisfied with the teaching online by your faculty, your lecturer, like less than 50% they're happy. Well, less than 50%. So that's what makes us, like quite, sad, because online learning is not just moving, from the classroom to the digital, to the virtual, from a real classroom to virtual classroom. Not like that. That's why we have, like, in university we open, but unfortunately not many students taking edtech, majoring in educational technology. So it's not that many, especially education technology being understood as just the way of teaching, not like edtech in the era of Industrial Revolution 4.0. I think this the interest of students to take edtech faculty, because now the what do you call this starter? The entrepreneur, a new guy entrepreneur, like a young kid. They are not from edtech mostly. A few, but many of them are business majoring. So just like our minister also is not edtech background. So I think this need to be brought up, bring up to the student, to the faculty, the university, that edtech faculties are not, has to be supported and encourage it to students to take this, because at this time we see few innovation because of not enough faculties or professors that in the background of edtech at the university. Thank you.
Fantastic. That's such an interesting point also, it's not just the university sector and the government sector that has a role to play, right? There's also a very interesting private sector role and startup role there as well. Fantastic.
This whole thing requires the participation of the different parts of the economy. Government sector has to come in, the education sector has to come in, the startup environment has to come in, the private sector definitely has to come in, and it requires us to have and to develop probably a new mindset to how we see this pan out. I want to encourage everyone who is listening to think of this as a journey. This is never going to be a black and white kind of a decision, but this is a journey where we're going to learn about how technology can actually be impactful and very, very useful in the education sector. Just to share a little bit, I was a teacher myself, and the reason why I'm now in technology is because I have come to encounter technology in a very powerful way, and it made me believe why technology can play such an important role in helping teaching and learning. And this was back many, many, many years ago when the internet is still not very pervasive. But, fast forward 20 plus years now, we have a lot more access to technology, content, solutions, and services. And I guess, it's about how our expectation of what this is all about and how we should be taking it. To give you another example, we work very closely with one of the Indonesian education technology startup called CMAC Online. Right? And again, during this COVID-19 situation, in a very short period of time, they onboarded in total, or rather they're supporting 510 schools in the Jakarta region, right, which translate to about 300,000 students. They provide school administration services so that the business of school can still run. They also have some learning services within their applications, so teaching and learning can still go on. And they also have some communication capabilities with parents. And so, it's also involving the stakeholders of the students. So the students are involved, the teachers are involved, the schools are involved, the parents are involved, right? And collectively, they are trying to connect all the dots between all these different stakeholders so that they are trying to deliver the right level of service to support teaching and learning for the students in these schools. And that's just one way in which it helps us think. And operationally, definitely we got to rethink and accept a new way of supporting our students, whether they are the younger students or the older students. They just require different way of us approaching that solution. Back to you, Cheryl.
Fantastic.
Cheryl, can
yes. Of course, please, go ahead.
I agree, of course, with Vincent that this is going to be a journey, and a long journey. And learning, by definition, is growth. If it is the transmission of what is already in place, maybe we can rely very heavily on technology. But one of the very important, essential part of learning is new insight. And particularly it applies to higher education. It is the insight that I think constitutes the core of learning output. And for this, we still rely heavily on creative mind, creative faculties, creative teamwork among faculties. And with this new revolution in online learning, we faculties will have to acquire new skills, new competencies to make learning really attractive to learners. And this is not going to be easy. We know that reading from the internet can be fun, but if you have to repeat it all over again, we get bored. So this insight from faculties is very important. And one thing that we consider doing at our university is to facilitate the acquisition of acting skills among faculties to make learning attractive to students. And we are called homo ludens, aren't we? People or species who loves to play around. And we call it today's gamification. So how do we integrate gamification into learning technologies so that learning becomes a truly not just of course entertaining, but something that people like to engage in. And this challenge, I think, is to all of us in the educational institution. We hire faculties primarily for their capabilities to come up with new insights, which is, as I said, the essence of learning. Growth in knowledge, growth in skills, growth in entrepreneurship. So we, faculties, will have to live together with technologies, I agree, but there are certain things that we, faculties, will have to come up even stronger than what people can expect from technologies. And that's insight again.
That's such an important point because if you can have the best learning platform in the world, but if there is no insights that are being transmitted,
Yes.
definitely a very bored students. That's one who can turn you off at any point. So
yes.
Yeah, definitely a challenge for faculty for sure. May I invite either Prof. Suharman or Gintoro to give out if you've got any other further reflections on the question?
Yeah, if I may.
Yes,
Cheryl?
please. Yes, of course.
Yeah, from the point of view of the school, the technology that things that we need right now is a learning management system. That's why we're working with the AWS right now. We're preparing some, what we call it as sekolahmaya.id. In English, it's virtualschool.id. It's a learning management system platform that we developed with AWS supporting us. So we provide this as a learning management system so teachers can upload their content, so can give the assignment for the students and also grading the assignment and also the exam test, everything, they can do it on the school learning management system. So currently we have 44 schools with around about 5,000 students in there. And also we train about 2,500 teachers to use the learning management system. So we're in the process of doing a lot of training and information with the schools to help them to prepare all the things they're ready by next week about the things. We also put some content in there. So it's interactive online learning content, fun learning and everything. We put some tips and tricks how to do the online learning things. Hopefully with these things, like Vincent said before, so the learning management system can be there and then can be used by the schools. I think that's the most important thing right now, the learning management system. So school can have all the things in there first. So rather than they meet in the classroom, everything will meet on the virtual classroom and see all the content in there. So that's from the school point of view, Sarah. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And yes.
Yeah.
Additional commenter, I think, so that our student body is around 30,000 students from bachelor until the postgraduate. The problem is actually our university has already prepared some of the learning management system before the COVID. But still there are some problem related to how to push the student or the lecturer to use the system. But now there is no more reason they should use the learning management system. So this is actually the challenging is the good possibilities to speed up our performance in the university, because our government has already made, I mentioned before that the government is already pushed the university to make some of the different way to learning system, but we still have a like traditional minded to use the physical learning. I mean, have to class by class, but now this is the opportunity. So my university has one challenges in the future. Actually, we already have in the middle of semester we fight for this condition. I think the next semester will be in the August. Now we make, for example, maybe you know very better that one experience is more the time for Universitas Hasanuddin to make the system more complicated, more powerful for the student and also for the lectures. Maybe we don't want to discuss about the infrastructure of the internet. I think this is the not our problem only, but it is the time for our university to make the condition better. We are now prepared because we still have a so now we working hard to synchronize all the learning management system. We call it Sekolah before, and then we hope that the next semester, the next term of the new student also, they have used our learning management system. Only one problem we now have to prepare about the transition between the new student from the high school to the universities. This is also not so simple how to bridging them from the school to the university. This is not only about the online facilitation, but the character. I mean, they also have to build a character for the student, especially in the university. I think this is two kind of our challenges, and then our it is to speed up our online learning in the future in my university. Thank you, Cheryl.
Fantastic. I'm very conscious of time, and unfortunately we have overrun our time slot a little bit. But maybe let me just take this opportunity to thank everybody on this panel. It's been so wonderful hearing everybody's different perspectives. You know, and also I think for me as a fellow educator, I think what I'm really taking away from this session is everybody's heart for education and for learning and for this desire to make it work, you know, for our students and for our fellow colleagues and for our universities, for our schools, you know, that even though, you know, this year has thrown us some unusual challenges, you know, that everybody's been so innovative and so, I don't know, eager to really just try to do good, right? And make the best out of the situation. So thank you very much for sharing